It's 1969. The Oakland Museum of California, which was founded as a museum of the people, was opening its doors to the public for the first time. And right across the street, this was happening. You can see the walls of our museum in the back. These were thousands of people demonstrating on the front steps of the county courthouse, asking for the freedom of Huey Newton, who was one of the founders of the Black Panther Party and who was on trial at this time for murder. The Black Panther Party was founded in Oakland in 1966, and its foundation is very much tied to the history of our institution. The founding director of the Oakland Museum was fired before the museum even opened for starting an African American advisory committee. So as the 50th anniversary of the Black Panther Party approached, we knew we had to mark this very important and contested history for our community and our nation. And at the same time that we were thinking about this exhibition, things were changing dramatically in the United States. The Black Lives Matter movement was moving off social media platforms and onto the streets as month after month, black men were being shot by police in cities across the United States. We had, over the past few years, been focusing more on stories that were deeply relevant and for our community and focused on urgent issues for our communities. But we knew this story had a different kind of urgency. If we were going to take on the Black Panther revolution in this context, it was going to require us to work in new ways and have different kinds of conversations, not just with our community, but also with our staff and with our board and our civic leaders. So we asked ourselves, how does a museum take on a revolution? In the end, we worked with over 100 different community members and advisors in the creation of the exhibition, but we started here, as we often do with many of our projects, with a convening of community experts. So the people who have lived and studied and reflected the revolution, former Panthers, scholars, activists, and artists. These conversations really shaped the entire narrative and experience of the exhibition. We also convened what we called listening circles with community members and youth and members of our board of trustees to understand and plan for what we knew would be a wide array of reactions to this exhibition. These sessions began with each person reading aloud the 10-point platform, which was the Black Panthers' roadmap to revolutionary change. We want immediate end to police brutality. We want education for all of our people. We want decent housing. We heard and saw a real sense of connection and urgency and emotion that was as fresh today as it was back in 1966 when Bobby Seale and Huey Newton wrote the 10-point program and founded the Panthers. So these words and the documents themselves became the physical and emotional anchor for the whole exhibition. As we researched the origin of the party and heard from long-standing members of our community, it was clear that the Panthers were an outgrowth of deep-seated systemic racism and oppression in Oakland. Now, this was a surprise for many members of our community because Oakland has a long history of deep African-American roots, and the Bay Area is often recognized as a place of progressivism and long-standing diversity. So when we found this Ku Klux Klan robe in our collection, it was collected from an Oakland chapter. We knew that this was going to be the powerful expression of this unknown or little-known story. But of course, it was going to be highly charged. Our staff in the museum were adamant we should not and could not show this artifact. But our advisors and our collaborators told us we absolutely had to. The Panthers came to the broader attention of the Oakland community and the whole country with the declaration that black men had the right to self-defense. And despite many powerful social programs started by the Panthers, free schooling, free groceries, free health clinics, what most people thought of when they thought of the Black Panthers were young black men wearing leather jackets and berets, carrying a gun. So the gun became a powerful and necessary artifact for us to include. We knew that including this would make many members of the community and ourselves very uncomfortable. We had to learn to sit in that discomfort and work to ensure that our many collaborators and partners and stakeholders in the community, for example, the mayor and the mayor's office, our elected officials, the police department, and our board of trustees, understood why this was important to include. The community wanted us to find a way to recognize the thousands of Panthers across the country, so they worked with us to create a memory wall. Over 10,000 names of Panthers from across not just the United States, but the world were added to this wall during the exhibition. Also, one of our Panther collaborators handmade a wreath, which he delivered to the museum, and we included in this section of the exhibition. We included the voices, the faces, and the stories of the Panthers and young local activists and artists who reflected on the origins of the Panther Party and the powerful legacy of their revolution and the renewed urgency for justice in light of the ongoing situation in the United States and the killing of Black men. We really didn't know what to expect from our community in reaction to this show. We anticipated backlash from donors and members. We imagined real criticism from the media. It didn't happen. We lost one donor. At the same time, the US presidential election happened 1 month after we opened this show. And all of a sudden, this exhibition became a place that people sought out for understanding and inspiration and community connection through a very disheartening, to say the least, time. Attendance for this exhibition broke all records in the history of our institution. 85,000 people came in 4 months, and 700 people bought memberships in the last 5 days. Visitors spent twice as long in this exhibition than any exhibition we had done in the past. Visitors were eavesdropping on other visitors, listening to them telling their stories, and tours happened, and conversations happened to be between complete strangers around these stories. Grandparents read labels word for word to their children and grandchildren sitting on the floor in front of the exhibits. Elder residents were pointing themselves out in photographs. Family portraits were posed and taken. People told us that they felt their stories mattered. This exhibition was transformational for us as a museum. It showed us the real power and potential of our museum and museums in general to move the message forward. In this case, the message of social justice for all. Including community in the conception and the creation of this exhibition gave us the courage to take real risks and to take a stand as an organization, to move beyond the artifice of neutrality and to use our power to tell stories that matter and to create a conversation around issues that matter. This exhibition also gave us the courage and the clarity to answer the question that we were asked all throughout the development of this exhibition. You are going to tell both sides of the story, right? And our answer to that question by the time we concluded this project was, in this case, no. Thank you very much.